Goals are there to wrap boundaries, to create incentive, to create energy, to get you thinking differently, to look forward to achieve something in the year that you're just about to enter. Most people who write their goals down, write them down in January and quit by March. Why is that? Accountability. Accountability. We're going to cover that off today. We're also going to talk about what are goals, why have them in the first place. You know, understanding the DNA of goal setting is really, really important, I think. Because what I think happens is people write goals down year after year after year. They might achieve some of them. They don't really know why they don't achieve those ones. And they don't really know how to contextualize goals personally for themselves, for their business, for their families, and what that looks like, right? So what I want to start with is one, why? Why write goals down in the first place? Good question, right? Obvious? Certainly, sure. But why? So goals are there to wrap boundaries, to create incentive, to create energy, to get you thinking differently, to grow, to contribute, to look forward to achieve something in the year that you're just about to enter. That's what goals are about. Plus, the collateral of achievement compounds. So if you have a great year in 2025, and it's certainly a good time to be alive, there's so much opportunity. What happens in 2026? Momentum. You carry that through. So setting goals is really, really critically important. I think it's foundational. It's the foundation for humans in which they grow upon, where they seek contribution, they feel achievement, makes them feel good, and I think it makes you feel happy. I think achieving goals could be the epicenter of happiness. Because I know when I have a great year or a great quarter or a great month or a great week and I've achieved a lot, I feel fulfilled, right? And that's what we're looking for, is fulfillment. So think about why for you. Now, there's a couple of things to consider. Is it about you? Is it about maybe goals for your family? Is it economics? Is it relationship based? Is it health? Business? Work? Family? Education? So there's all these things that are in the air, right? You have to pull them down sometimes, and you've got to commit it to paper. So once you've figured that out and you've given it some thought, the reason why you're writing goals is to have a great year. Why do you want to have a great year? Write that down. And how are you going to feel when you achieve, say, 75% of the goals that you write down for 2025? How great would that be, right? And then think about the momentum that that will create for you in 2026 and 2027 and moving forward, potentially for the rest of your life. I want you to think about the categories. The categories inside your goals. Like I said before, economics. So is it about money? Is it about your job? Is it about your health? You've really got to figure out what those verticals look like. So what happens is you end up with these stages, right? That's what you end up with. When you start to really digest and break down what your goals look like, you should end up with a whole bunch of collateral like this. Family. So once I've got that structured, right, I start to think about what goes in these boxes. So what happens is money. Economics is so critically important. And for most people, goals are about moving forward, right? Not backwards, forwards. So money could be about your job. I want to earn 20,000 more than I did last year. Great. Health. I want to lose 10 kilos this year. And I want to improve my stamina. Family. I want to spend more time with my family and get closer to my children. Really important stuff, right? Business. I had a bad year last year. I had a really bad year in 2024. So what am I going to do to turn that around? Because that created a lot of stress for me. It infected my family, it infected my health, and it affected my economics. So when you tie a goal together, do you see the congruency between all these different verticals and all these different boxes, right? Most of it comes from here. Economics. If your economics are unhealthy, a lot of these things are very hard to achieve, right? So I always think about, okay, what's the most important thing here, right? So when I'm talking about my business, I'm really talking about economics. Because why are you in business? To generate money, generate revenue. If you talk about your job, I get that there's probably two components to that. I want to be happy in my job and I feel like I'm contributing, but I also need to earn and pay the bills, right? Someone has to pay for the mortgage and pay for the education for the children. So there's all these things going around the mind as you're starting to compile these things. So I just want you to think about that. I'm going to think about the why, and I want to think about what categories am I going to look at this year. This could be anything, by the way, but this is how I do it. So number 3, so what's fitting in between this? Number 4, I'm going to jump to really quickly, is I'm going to prioritize. And I call that, in terms of setting goals, an iteration. So important. Now, there's 2 reasons why I think people fail getting their goals and hitting their targets. No one is holding them accountable. They're not holding themselves accountable. You're not holding yourself accountable, and they have no one around them holding themselves accountable. If your goal is to increase this, turn this around, and fix this, and no one knows about it, you won't hit it. You'll hit it if you're full of drive and you were born that way, and you know whether you are or not. Some people need to be held accountable and some people don't. I sort of don't. I hold myself accountable. I have very high standards for my execution and what I need to achieve, like daily, or even every hour, hourly. But if you don't have that, you need to find someone to hold you accountable. You do not want to be hanging around with people, right, who are telling you what you want to hear. Don't do that. Hang around with people who challenge you and say to you, hey, Tommy, how's the month gone? You said you were going to achieve that. Did you hit that number? Did you hit that target? Did you get that done? Did you go to the gym? And when you say, look, I didn't, they hit you on it. Now that's a good friend. That's someone who cares about you acquiring your targets, right? And achieving your goals. And you want those people in your life. It's so critical to get that right. So that's one reason why people don't hit their targets, is accountability. They don't hold themselves accountable. They've got no one to hold them accountable, right? So you should speak to your partner, your husband, your wife, your children, and those closest to you in your inner circle, right? Shout out from the rooftops, from the top of the mountain. This is what I'm going to achieve this year. I'm going to turn my business around, make it profitable by X. I'm going to lose 10 kilos and going to improve my stamina and my energy by X. I'm going to take my family on 2 holidays this year, one to France and one to X, right? And this is how much money I'm going to make. So that's goal setting, breaking them down into categories, right? So once you've got that done, you've got some level of accountability from someone around you, is you've got to break them down to subcategories. Inside the subcategories, you have to prioritize and use iterations. Let me explain. Now, I'm going to start with business. That's sort of what I know. That's sort of my thing, my go-to. So I had a bad 2024, right? And what I need to do is I need to turn it around. How do I get my business from a bad year to a really good year, right? It's really important to think about. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prioritize an iteration format to turn my business around, right? So let me do that for you. All right, so I need to go from negative, say 200,000, for example, like hopefully it's not so bad, and I want a plus profit of 250,000. Right, so I've got a loan against my business. I didn't make, my loans, quite substantial. I didn't make a lot of money. I made some money to draw down and pay that down, but I'm in negative for the year. You'll be surprised the amount of businesses that run a negative. Unless you're a huge Silicon Valley startup and you've got a lot of funding behind you, that's not a good place to be, right? So how do you go from negative 200 to plus 250? That's such a big thing. But here's what people will do. They'll go, my goal for my business in 2025 is I just want to turn my business around for it to be profitable. Great. Why? How profitable? When? And how? So you've really got to break that down. That's what I mean about subcategories and goal setting. All right, so I have to think about, why was I negative 200? Because sales were down. Okay, that's one element. What else? What influences revenue in a business? Marketing. So marketing wasn't good enough. I didn't get enough leads. Sales were down. So what I need to do, now I'm going to go really small here just for the sake of clarity and for the sake of time. This would be a very long list, by the way. This could be staff. This could be systems. It could be all those sorts of things, right? I'm going to pick two. If it's about revenue, negative 200 to positive 250, marketing and sales. Marketing and sales. So, how do I turn the business around to fix this goal and to achieve that number? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to break it down into quarters. There's going to be 4 quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the end of the year. This is the start of the year. I'm in quarter 1 right now. So now I need to iterate. So how do I iterate here? And what do I focus on? I thought I'd color that in. Don't know why. What am I going to focus on at the start of the year to ensure that I achieve that goal for that year? Be quite systematic in thinking about this. So what needs to come first? It's always a horse before the cart, right? So I'm thinking, okay, sales. If I'm writing a goal, sales, I need more salespeople. Okay, so I need 2 more salespeople. Okay, what else? I need to increase my lead count by 20%. And I need to launch Google Ads. Let's just say it's just that, right? This is all just hypothetical, by the way. So you want to be quite cyclical with this, right? There is a motion and a cycle of how business works and how goal achieving works. Okay, so if I'm focusing on sales and marketing, okay, I'm going to prioritize this as probably, out of all of this, as being the most important things. Because if I can fix this and this, I fix that, I fix that, and I fix that. So that comes first. If you're writing goals in this category, it's going to be very hard. You can write down, I want to go 250K, but inside your business, you have to figure out what's broken. Then you have to break it down and prioritize and break it into iterations to make that work. I hope that makes sense. You have to work in iterations. You have to prioritize inside the goal you're trying to achieve. And remember, we're working on your business. So I've determined I need 2 more sales agents. I need to increase my lead count by 20%. And I need to run Google Ads. Now you can't do all of that in quarter 1. It's too much. Now, let me go back to the reason why people miss their goals. Now, I talked about accountability. The other reason why people miss their goals is because they underestimate how much work is to be done. Come on, you know it, we've all done it. I'm gonna lose 10 kilos in the first 3 months of the year. You go that first time, you know, it's exciting. You're a little bit tired. You get up in the morning, you go to work, you forget to pack your bag. It's okay. I'll go tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and it's raining. It's a bit rough outside. You got up 10 minutes late. Oh, look, it's okay. I'll go tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes. And then all of a sudden something happens at work. Oh, look, I don't have time to go to the gym. I'll do it tomorrow. So what happens is you don't prioritize things well, right? You're looking for excuses not to do something. This is big. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner and you need to fix this problem, you have to understand how big it is. That is a monumental issue in your life. If your business is losing money, it's a monumental issue. Now, your business could be making money, you might want to increase revenue by 10%. Great, sure, that's easier to deal with, right? It still might be the strategy. So the blueprint can work in any type of scenario. So look at the framework here. 2 more sales agents, increase lead count, and Google Ads. So I'm gonna prioritize that into iterations. So this quarter, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start recruiting. I'm not gonna finish it, I'm gonna start it. That's all. And in quarter 2, I'm gonna place 1 agent. And in quarter 3, I'm gonna place my 2nd agent. That's 1 done. But I've spread it across a period of time. You might pull that really close together. It might be month, in 1 quarter, sure, that's fine. But I'm giving you the concept here, right, and the model. I need to increase lead count by 20%. So, I'll take that out. So in the first quarter, I'm going to seek an agency. And then in quarter 2, I'm going to appoint that agency. Again, I'm moving it out a bit, I'm prioritizing. Recruitment is a long game. Put that in first, right? It's pretty easy to do. You might spend an hour a day, a couple of hours a day recruiting staff to put in there. And then I need to find an agency to get my lead count up for the new inbounds. Now I know if I've got one coming in quarter 2, which could be March or February, that I need to have the agency in set before that. But I could start that agent, train them and get them ready for when the agency starts and increases lead count. Google Ads, right? You don't have them now, so it's not a big problem. So what I'm saying is, this is not a big problem for you. If you were to try and achieve your goals and you went all in on this and you miss these things, that really won't necessarily result in a good positive outcome here. All I'm saying is to keep your goals on point, you need to prioritize, you need to work in iterations, you need to understand what your categories are and what is the highest priority out of those categories, right? And understand why you're doing it in the first place. That's super critical. People don't think about that. Now, all of this mess on the whiteboard needs to go down into a structured document. So I have an Excel spreadsheet, right? And I put these categories across an Excel spreadsheet. Sometimes I use different tabs. And what I do is when I prioritize it, I go from 1 to 5. What's a 5 is not as important, what's 1 is critically important. And then when I've numbered them, what I do is I put them in priority order for each quarter, and then I look at them. So if you're writing your goals in January, you're too late. You should have started in October. Do me a favor. Right now, make a note. This year in October, on the 1st, put in a reminder to start compiling and assessing your goals for 2026. It takes about 3 months to get it right, especially if you're a business owner. If they're personal goals like I just need to increase my income by 20%, that's not so bad. You know, that would be, what does my resume look like? Do I have one? I need to get it updated. That's the first thing. That has to be done first. I need to set up a profile. I need to apply for jobs. How many jobs do I need to apply for? Who am I going to apply with? What industry is that in? You might need to pivot industries. I don't know. You need to think about that. Do I have any education that's updated on my resume? No, I don't. Let's look for some courses. So let's get the courses locked in, put them on the resume, say they're pending, do the courses, start applying for jobs, right? Prioritize and sequence. Work in iterations. Don't go applying for jobs when you don't have a good resume. What's the point? Don't go applying for jobs on Monster or Seek when the algorithm can't read your CV. What's the point? So what I'm talking about is working intelligently and thinking intelligently about your future, right? So when you get to the end of the year and you've achieved some amazing things, how great is that? Like I said, it's probably the epicenter to happiness for most people is achievement, right? We're born to want to achieve. So, but to get there, it's not random. You have to be very clinical, very strategic, and you have to think deeply about it. So my advice is to do that, but you have to have a framework. So this is a framework, right? Iteration is a framework as well as an application. It's a strategy, right? Like any startup business should work in iterations. Like if you're building a SaaS product, you have to work in iterations. If you're building the company from foundations up, you have to work in iterations. If you're launching, a piece of hardware like an iPhone, you have to work in iterations. In fact, Steve Jobs was big on iterations. So think about that. But all I'm saying is build the framework, write it down. And if you don't know how to do it and you're struggling with it, find someone who does and seek advice from those people. And remember, everything has to work in sequence. You can't do everything all in the first quarter. One of the biggest problems is when people go to attack their goals, and looking for that achievement, they try and do everything all at once, right? Because they're pumped up and they're ready to go. But in actual fact, what happens is it all falls over because it becomes overwhelming for people, right? So just go slow. When you become overwhelmed, you normally pull back a little bit and you don't want to do something because you want that feeling to go away. But if you break it down into chunks, it doesn't seem so overwhelming. And what normally happens is, you take the pressure off yourself. I want to leave you with a thought. When you do this, you have to review it, right? You have to review it. Oh, I tell you. I know people who write their goals down once, maybe look at them 2 or 3 times in the year. You need to put this everywhere. Put it on a t-shirt. That was a joke. Don't put it on a t-shirt. Oh, you could. But what I'm saying, put it somewhere where you see it. Set a reminder in your calendar so it reminds you to read it. Put it on the mirror in the morning. Get it in your iPhone. I have mine in notes. And I have all these categories in notes, right? And subfolders and all these things going on. And guess what I do every time I get my coffee in the morning? I read through that whole list. Every day. Every day. How many days in a year?
365.
365 times a year I read my goals. How many days in a year? I should know that. That's how many times I read them. So please, when you write them down, you will have no power in achieving them if you do not read them. You will not hold yourself accountable if you do not read them. If you don't write them down in the first instance, you cannot read them. So make sure you do, okay? So I hope that helped. I appreciate you watching. Have a great 2025. Any comments, drop them in the comments, DM me. Happy to respond to any questions that you may have. By the way, we've got some new merch. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm wearing a new Business Beats t-shirt. Go and check out the website, businessbeatswithaz.com, if you want to purchase any merch. Appreciate your time. See ya.